Mr. Happy Living here, and I'm happy to be broadcasting from WYTV7 in the beautiful Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina. Hey friends, just imagine how you'd feel living the life you were put on this planet to live, doing work you love, with people you love, in places you love, and all the while creating something of real value to others. It's what I call living a life of significance. And I can tell you, it's a very happy life. And so can Anessa Powell. And she's my guest star for today. Hey, Anessa, welcome to the Something Significant show.
Matt, thank you so much. Just absolutely thrilled to be here.
Awesome. So tell our audience, what are you doing these days to leave your mark of significance on the world?
Well, my husband and I recently launched our own disability recruitment firm called All Ability Recruiting. We are based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. However, we are working with businesses and candidates from all over the country. But we specialize, we're very much like a typical recruiting firm. However, we specialize with the disability community. So we provide the disability community an opportunity to work with employers that value their assets and wanting to have a seat at the table, which they so rightly deserve.
That's great. And I noticed as I was doing my research on you, there seems to be a shift in language from disabled to disability. And I like that because they're not disabled, right? They are able, right. They are able to do stuff. But so is that a recent language change, or?
You know, it is. It's been a movement over the past few years within the community to change the way in which people address themselves. So certain people who are disabled, they prefer first person as opposed, and then some people like to identify their disability first, and then some people don't. They just say, I'm this person who happens to have a disability. It's all up to each individual person. You know, we have a culture where people have certain preferences in which they like to be addressed and not addressed. And so I think that tends to speak to that. I love the fact that it's going away from handicap, heaven forbid, and now it's, you know, we're embracing the disabled or disability, whichever you prefer. I like to say disability.
Okay, very good. All right, Anessa, well, let's let our audience get to know you through the mathematics of our happy formula.
Sure.
Capacity plus purpose equals happy. So let's start with capacity. And tell us, what are your practices for building your personal capacity, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual, financial, emotional? In other words, Anessa, what do you do to create the capacity you need to take really good care of yourself and your loved ones and still have plenty left over to give to others?
Well, Matt, I have a rare disease called Addison's disease. It's also known as primary adrenal insufficiency, which I can tell more about that later, why it led to me to where I am now with a disability firm, recruitment firm. Okay. So when you live with someone as a rare disease, you have to be very mindful of your health. You have to be very mindful of the actions in which you take every day. So I don't have a finite amount of energy, unfortunately. Fatigue is a big part of our symptoms when you have Addison's. And so I have to be very mindful of where I allocate my time. I'm a busy mom, I'm a wife, and I have these 2 teenage kids to keep me running, and I have a business. So it's a matter of realizing and rating exactly what their priorities lie. And I can tell you, if mom goes down, they all go down. So I have to be very careful of what that means. So it means, you know, my husband and I joke that water is always an option. You know, staying hydrated is a huge key for someone with Addison's as well, because the number one thing that usually winds us up in the hospital is dehydration. So being very mindful of that. Good job. See you drinking that there. And just staying hydrated and being very mindful of things that go into my body. And then I will also tell you, Matt, I've really changed my philosophy on exercising. So I was not one growing up that I would just love to exercise. It was just not something that I enjoyed. I was very active, but it wasn't, as I got older, it was more of a chore. And when I was diagnosed, and over the past few years, the capacity to exercise changed greatly based upon my disease. And I've changed it to the point where before it was, you have to exercise. And now it's, you get to exercise. And that to me changed everything, because there are days when I feel great and I want to do that. And then there are days that I don't, and I'm sorry that I'm not able to. And so I changed that mindset for me, and it's really made all the difference, especially recently.
Well, you said something about energy, and I can understand with a disease that your energy is impacted.
Yes.
I can kind of understand it, not really, because I haven't experienced it. But I have noticed there's a difference between earthly energy and spiritual energy. And earthly energy
Yes.
is finite, and that's physical fitness and mental fitness and financial fitness. That's all finite. When you use it, you have to replenish it, right?
Mhm.
And if you're diseased, then that's going to be, you're going to use more of it to do what otherwise you'd be able to do, and it's probably going to take longer to replenish it. And I can understand that. What about the spiritual energy? What about when you're, so even in your less energy capacity, when you're fired up about something, or when you're in love with something, or when you're protecting something and you're working off of this love and spiritual energy, you must experience the same thing that I'm experiencing, which is it's finite and it doesn't run out and you don't get as tired. Is that true or not true for you?
It is and it isn't, I will say. When you are someone with this rare disease, it does challenge you mentally in a sense that you don't always feel great and you don't always think clearly. And so it's not a process in which I have this infinite love and excitement. I will say I am a people person. I struggled during the pandemic, especially someone that was worried about getting COVID, and because my body does not fight off infection, I have to take extra precautions in order to do that. And a lot of times we do wind up in the hospital because we need extra help. So not being able to have that interaction, and as much as I love what Zoom calls have created, it's still not that intimate, just that energy that you can get with being someone in person. So that sometimes can be stressful and take it away. However, I will tell you that I'm a faith person. I am a Christian. And so I get that back too through my daily devotionals and what I do in order to continue to foster that for me internally.
Okay, well, that makes sense. And of course, it's Maslow's law comes to play too. When you don't have anything, you can't be fired up, right?
Right.
So you have to learn how to get through those, and that makes sense. Okay, so before moving on to purpose, let's talk about my favorite word, Kaizen. It's a Japanese idea that small incremental improvements add up over time to yield great big results. And as a personal practice, it means there's always something you can do better tomorrow than you did today. And I love it because it keeps me always moving forward in some way every single day. So Anessa, can you talk about how you might apply Kaizen to improve your personal capacity so you can continuously become more, so you can continuously give more?
I am constantly learning. Let's put it that way, in a sense that I never want to be that person who is looked at as like she's been stuck in this rut and she's done the same thing over and over again. I will tell you, from where I started many, many years ago, that is not where I thought I would be today. My journey has been quite arduous and different than, most. And, I have a degree in hotel and restaurant management, and here I have a disability recruitment firm. So what in the world? When your life decides to throw your health sideways, you kind of reevaluate a lot of things. And for me, it's about constantly reading and researching and realizing that what works today is not going to work tomorrow, maybe. And to completely just keep asking myself, is that going to work again? Is that something that I need to reevaluate? And that's a big piece to that, is that I've changed so much. And I want to share that that's still an option for everyone else to continue soaking up that knowledge and learning more about yourself. Because I certainly do. I surprise myself every day and think, what about that? And let's figure this out. Can I go in depth further as to what that means?
Yeah, and learning is a great way to apply Kaizen, because you can learn at any age. You can learn at different levels of energy. It's always something you can do, and you can always learn something more tomorrow than you did today. And if you're in that process, you're in this upward cycle. At least part of your life has this upward cycle that you can look forward to. And that's what I love about Kaizen. No matter how bad things are going in one area, you can always do something in another area that gives you a reprieve and actually improves your capacity.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So let's get into the second element of the happy formula. And in my book, Turning Inspiration into Action, I explore how major life transformations and discovery of purpose often come from devastations, addictions, disease, death, disaster. Some big crisis shakes your life. But I've used a happier way and discovered my purpose through inspiration. And I think we're going to know where yours came from, but let me ask the question anyways. Was there a specific moment, or take us back to that moment or event or crisis or inspiration that revealed to you the purpose you were meant to live? Take us to that moment and tell us how it affected your life.
It was definitely a life-changing moment, and that was when I was diagnosed. So I will tell you, it was several years leading up to diagnosis. I was diagnosed in January of 2013.
So,
but leading up to that point,
yeah. So leading up to that, were you just kind of on a slow, steady decline and not knowing what was going on? Okay.
That's exactly right, Matt. So after I had my second child, my son was born in April of 2008. And after that, that's when all of the symptoms started. And for many years, I was told that I was just a mom, a tired mom with young babies. And I can talk hours on that about going through their process, because unfortunately, a lot of women do go through that, not understanding what's happening to their body. So I was told that, and I kept striving for answers because I was just, the kids would get sick and they'd bring it home from preschool, and then I would get it, and it could be something as a cold, but then it would take me a month to get over. So what I did not realize is that my adrenal glands were declining. And I, one summer, had pneumonia for 4 months, could not get over it. And that's not normal. And then I had many other symptoms of, stomach issues, and they couldn't figure out after an endoscopy, colonoscopy, so on and so forth, just many, many different things. And eventually I ended up having sinus surgery, which turned out to be a blessing, because that's how they discovered it. Because 10 days later after the surgery, my body went into crisis, which is Addisonian crisis. And so I wound up in the hospital. Short story, 11 days later, they figured it out. So they come into my room after being poked and prodded and said, "We have an answer. You have a rare disease called Addison's disease, primary adrenal insufficiency. Take your medicine, you'll be fine." Well, as most people know, when they are diagnosed, that's not always the case. Yeah. I was thrown into a world that I knew nothing about. I didn't even know we had adrenal glands. That just tells you how much I knew. And what they did, so you have these things, but yours don't work anymore. So here you go. And I threw myself into research and discovering this whole world of invisible illness, chronic illness. The hashtag that's out there is, "but you don't look sick." That was a big thing for me, just understanding what that meant. And my world was forever changed. So fast forward 7 years later, I've been a patient advocate, a disability advocate, and now I work with getting people who are disabled employment.
I love it. And so when you first get the diagnosis, it's like a relief, right?
Absolutely.
It's like you're not crazy, or we've discovered a reason, and now we can start getting to work on it.
It was very scary at times, because I knew I had to trust my gut, and I had to keep pushing forward, and I had to keep seeing specialists. And 9 times out of 10, they look at me and say, we don't see anything. Yeah. We don't understand it. And the unfortunate part about Addison's is that there's 1,000 other symptoms, but when you put it together, it finally makes sense. And when, we joke in the rare disease world, med students are asked to look for horses, not zebras, right? And that's kind of the joke. And that's why our symbol for rare disease world is a zebra, because they're not trained to look for that. You're trained to look for the common, not the uncommon. And only 1 in 100,000 people have Addison's. And so it literally took someone who was it took my primary care physician to look at me and to see the coloring of my skin. And she's only seen it one other time before. And that's how she pointed the hospital to kind of focus on running those particular tests.
Amazing.
And I'm fortunate.
Good stuff, Anessa. Well, let's take a commercial break to spread a little love for our awesome November sponsors, Dry Farm Wines and Happy Living. Mr. Happy Living here. I love good things made by good people. That's why I love Dry Farm wines. I first met the man known as the healthiest wino on the planet back in 2016. He said his wines don't cause headaches or hangovers, and that he started his company because most wine consumed in the US is highly processed and loaded with unnatural nasties. Like most processed food, it's toxic. That very night, I made a big health decision. Toxic wines out, natural wines in. It's been 4 years since I made the switch, and I feel great. Go to happyliving.com and select Partners in Happy to get your first bottle of natural wine for a penny. And I'll donate 8% of every order placed during the entire month of November to WYTV7. Share the gift of natural wine and pour some love this holiday season. And we're back, and this is the Something Significant Show, and I'm Matt Gersper. Hey friends, do yourself a great, big, delicious health favor. Go to happyliving.com and select Partners to buy some Dry Farm wines right after the show. They curate delicious and all-natural wines for me from organic, small family farms all over the world. Every night it's fun to open a different bottle of wine, and it'll be fun and tasty for you too. But for now, let's get back to my guest star, Anessa Powell. And Anessa, I recently discovered an article called The Science Behind the Power of Giving. It was on livescience.com. And it seems that the act of giving itself can be a gateway to discovering your reason for being on the planet. It says compelling scientific data supports the notion that giving one's time, talents, and treasures is a powerful pathway for discovering purpose, transcending difficulties, and finding fulfillment in life. So I've updated my formula. Capacity plus purpose plus giving equals really happy. So what do you think, Anessa, from your own life experience? Has giving your time, talents, and treasures been a pathway for you to discover your purpose and transcend difficulties you've faced, and for bringing real meaning into your life?
Oh, 100%. I agree with the article, and I read that. And, you know, it is true when people say that they feel so much better when they have the opportunity to give back, you know, whether it be volunteering their time, their money, or you name it. And it speaks to that in that it offers that opportunity for people to feel fulfilled that they maybe not normally would. And when you are able to encompass that into your daily life, just imagine how that will just continue to propel you forward. And I agree with that 100%. And that's what we say about this all ability recruiting, is that it's not just a professional thing for us, it's a personal thing.
Yeah.
And for us to be able to do both, you know, I will say it started personal for me. It started more professional for my husband. And he has seen the passion that comes from me in speaking with the disability community. And now he's having the opportunity to work with some of our candidates and hearing their stories and being able to help them. Then that is just propelling us even further.
That's so great. It gives me goosebumps just hear you say that, because
Right.
So that's the science. They're talking about the science of giving. And I agree. And I've experienced how the magic of life can come from that fourth element of significance, doing work that creates value for others, giving. And I've experienced how the magic, it does come not from getting more, but from giving more. But it's more than that. And you just mentioned it. It's not just the giving that's magical. What I've been learning is it's when you're giving from living in your purpose, that's where the magic is. So tell us, Anessa, how does it make you feel when you're giving to others through the work you were put on this planet to do, and a client says, we're still talking and reflecting about Anessa's inspirational words. She was such a delight to have visit our teachers and staff. We hope others will be blessed to hear her speak.
Thank you for pulling that from a website, by the way. I will tell you now, I started as a speaker and sharing what it means to live with someone with an invisible illness. And then it spread to, okay, how can I raise awareness for the disability community? You know, my big focus was if it's not something that's intimate to you, then you're not as fully understanding of it. So like, say, for instance, you see someone get out of a car who happens to park in a disabled parking spot, and they get out and they walk in and they're just fine. That to me was like, okay, well, I need to educate others on that, because you don't know what took that person to get out of the house. It might have been the first time they left in a month. And then now it's propelled itself into finding employment for people who are disabled. And when our candidates feel valued and they get hired and they're working for a company who understands their disability, who understands the value that they can bring to a workforce, and then they're now able to provide for their family, it just makes my heart happy. It truly does, because when you have an inclusive environment, it's a win-win for everyone.
See, and that's what I've really been tapping into, is it's so you could have started a firm to just help people get jobs, and that would have been fulfilling, right? I mean, it's great to help somebody get a job.
Sure.
But when you're found this unique niche and reason that you're here, and from that position, you can help somebody else that is experiencing your kind of realm of the world. It's a different level of profound joy that just lights you on fire, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. And every time I hang up the phone with speaking with either a client or a candidate, I'm like, this is why we do what we do.
That's great.
And it just, the future is so bright. And that to me, it just, not to be cheesy, but it makes my heart sing.
And this is the good news, is it's everybody has their own unique path, and it took you all the time it took you, and the trials it took you to discover it.
Yeah.
But this is not for everybody. This is for you, right? And my path is different, and our listeners' path is different altogether. And so for me, what the target is to try to figure out what is your purpose, and then once you do that, do everything you can to build your life around it, and to build giving around it. So what's interesting is it seems that purpose and giving make this great big happy circle. Giving your time and talents and treasures, as the article says, is a powerful pathway to finding purpose. And giving from living in your purpose brings about that profound joy that we're talking about. So giving leads to purpose, and giving from purpose leads to joy. And that's the exponential power of the happy formula. Capacity plus purpose plus giving equals happy to the third power. And that's really, truly, deeply happy. Does that sound about right to you, Anessa?
I think that's spot on. Yes, most definitely.
You didn't know you were going to a math class today, did you?
And I will tell you, math's not my strong suit, so that wasn't too bad.
We handled it good. All right, good stuff. Well, let's wrap things up with the lightning round. I'll read a few of my favorite quotes, and then you respond to us, telling us what it means to you. And give us the first thing that comes to your mind so we can kind of peer into your brain a little bit.
Okay.
This is from T.S. Eliot. He says, "Because I know that time is always time, and place is always place, and what is actual only for one time and for one place, I rejoice that things are as they are."
Absolutely. Oh goodness. So rejoice in things that they are, right? Is that what the ending of it?
I rejoice that things are as they are.
Yes. Things that aren't always the best. Things aren't always going great. I mean, there are life circumstances that throw that at you. But for me, I will tell you, Matt, that I've always found a purpose in life's challenges. And I may not know it at the day it happens, but I eventually figure it out and roll with it, and it served me well.
And here you're sitting with this rare disease, and you can say that you can rejoice that things are as they are with your disease.
Absolutely. And I actually speak about that in some of my speaking topics, is that, when you get diagnosed, you have to grieve your old life.
Yeah.
And you can't be happy with what your new life is until you grieve your old one, and you have to learn acceptance. And once you learn acceptance, that's when the joy comes in.
I didn't prepare this one, but you mentioned acceptance. This is from Ayad Shante. He says, "Total acceptance of yourself brings about the total transcendence of self. Isn't that crazy?
Absolutely.
Why don't we just accept ourselves as we are?
Oh, it's just, that would mean we'd have to sit and reflect on the good and the bad, and that's not easy for people.
Simple, but not easy. Okay, number 2,
Yes.
from Helen Keller. Security is mostly a superstition. It does not exist in nature.
Well, thank you for pulling someone who had a disability, multiple disabilities. It doesn't in nature. That's interesting. Yeah. I'm thinking, I'm not going really deep here. I'm just thinking about going to the mountains and getting attacked by a bear. So yeah, no, that's probably not the direction you wanted, but that was the first thing that came to my mind.
Very good. Okay. And then the last one, this is from my past. The author is, I know the author, but people wouldn't know it. It says, your day belongs to another's dream.
Oh, your day belongs to another's dream. Yes, in certain circumstances, we live, especially here in America, we have such a fortunate life. And I really think that there's others out there that would just give anything to be where we are, even in the circumstances that of the crazy medical health field that health arena that I am in. People would still give their right foot to be able to be a part of that. So absolutely, yes.
Thank you. You're the first guest that's got that one nailed. That's exactly right.
Good.
I got told that as like a 19-year-old kid. I was older. I was 22, 23 years old, getting ready to try to go from college football into the pros. And I went and met with a coach who had played in the pros and tried to get some advice, some magic, something. And he gave me that and said, what you're about to do, most, college and high school players can only dream of. And so I thought about that, and that's been in the back of my mind almost not every day, but very close to it, just to be grateful.
Definitely.
For what we have. And you mentioned it, being in this country, even with all of our current warts and problems, we are blessed. So
we are, Matt. And there's a reason why people are trying to get into this country, because we have so many blessings to be thankful for. And my husband and I preach that to our kids all the time. We just be grateful, especially living in this amazing city of Charlotte. Just be so thankful for the opportunities that await you.
Okay, this one is the show anchor quote from Goth. Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now.
Can I say amen? Yes, 100%. There's a quote on my son's room. It's from Babe Ruth. It says, "Don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game." And 100%, you don't know unless you try.
And you said it earlier, Anessa, it's you keep doing, you keep swinging, and you don't end up where you thought you were going to end up. You end up somewhere else, right?
Totally.
but you can build a nice and amazing life out of that, especially if you don't try to control where it is you're going all the time.
We know one thing: we don't have control over any of it. So
that's right. That's 100% right. We think we do.
Right.
Okay. All right. Very good. And now, my friends, you know what to do. If you can hear my voice and you were inspired by today's show with Anessa Powell, please share a little love with our amazing broadcast team by donating what you can to WYTV7. They're a 501c3 charity on a mission to educate, empower, and encourage. They do good works with your kindness. Anessa, I just love your super unique business niche as a recruiting advocate for the underrepresented disability community that you call a phenomenal untapped talent pool. And I admire your mission to match talented people at all levels, from junior positions clear to the C-suite, to fill full-time employee positions with businesses that are more interested in people's capabilities than their inabilities. And I'm so happy that you shared your powerful voice on our show today.
Thank you. Oh, this has been so much fun. I appreciate being here.
Wonderful. Will you take just a minute and share any parting remarks you'd like to leave with our audience?
Absolutely. If you are someone that has a disability and is looking for employment or is looking to change positions, please reach out to us and let us know. We are getting opportunities all the time. from clients that want to hire people with disabilities. Or if you work for a company that wants to offer a more inclusive environment, the largest minority group in the world is the disability community. So it's very challenging to call yourself inclusive if you don't hire people with disabilities. So please reach out to us as well, allabilityrecruiting.com.
Very good. Wonderful, Anessa. Thank you. And I also want to thank WYTV7 for hosting and promoting our show so we can keep interviewing inspiring guests like Anessa and reaching folks like you ready to create your own extraordinary lives. A special thank you to our sponsors for the entire month of November, Dry Farm Wines and Happy Living. Remember, the more wine you buy, the more I'll donate to WYTV7. So go to happyliving.com and select partners to send some wine as gifts for your friends too. And then pour some love together this holiday season. And most especially, thank you, viewers and listeners. You'll find links to websites and social media and all things Anessa Powell. Find her, friend her, book her to speak about rare disease awareness or disability advocacy or women's support, and read her blog too. It's all available at anessapowell.com. And from me to you, dear friends, I love you and I want you to be happy. I want you to live your life to its fullest, to believe as I do that a better self is possible today and every day for the rest of our lives. And I hope we've got you feeling motivated and super confident and really bold too, and ready to take action to start discovering your own unique and distinct reason for being on this planet, because that's where you're going to make your mark of significance on the world. And the world is waiting to hear from you. Till next time, I'm Matt Gersper. You are awesome. And this is the Something Significant Show. And we're out.
Yay! That was great.
Thank you.
Wasn't too bad. Didn't stump me too badly.
You did terrific. Libby, are you there?
I am. I guess Kyle looked like he's going to have to turn it on. It stayed recording the whole time. So I hope it's gone into the right cloud. Yeah, I fell off for some reason.
That's okay. So we took a break, and you should be able to cut it and take out the nonsense, and
yes,
and hopefully it's going to be just perfect.
Okay, I hope so too. Kyle, do you have access to cut it?